Half a day, guys. Welcome to AMC Squared's third episode of our Alumni series. Before we get started, please make sure to sign in. So we're going to start off today's series with our guest speaker, Ms. Vani Isidro. Without going into detail, Vani handles all front-end development and designs for UOG and external contracted websites application. So without any further ado, please give it up for Ms. Vani Isidro.
Thank you for that introduction. Hi, everyone. Hope your Saturday is going well so far this morning. Thank you for coming. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and get started. So, like JC said, my name is Vani. I'm a junior application developer for the Office of IT here at University of Guam. And I'm also in my office right now. So welcome to my office. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my journey as a computer information systems student, and as well as, after graduating. So I'm gonna be talking about that. All right, so a little about myself. So in 2012, I entered UOG, and then I actually, like, after high school, like after I graduated, I didn't know, or not after I graduated, but while I was still in like senior year, I actually didn't know what I wanted to do in life. Um, and I didn't know what career I wanted, like what job I wanted, and I just had no clue what I wanted to do. And um, one of the reasons why I chose to declare in CIS, or Computer Information Systems, is because for three reasons. So one, I was actually into graphic design like in senior year in my high school, and I wasn't that great, but I was into it. Like I had a slight passion for it, and so I was like, okay, that has to do with computers. I like graphic design. And second, I wanted to learn how to fix my computer because I don't want to pay like for example like CompuCivic to like $70 just to like fix my computer, and like they even have like a diagnostic fee too. I was like, I think I want to learn how to fix my own computer, so I don't have to pay that. And then so even with that, like those two reasons, like I wasn't actually sold in like actually choosing what my major was. And I still didn't know. But so what I did was I went through the University of Guam's catalog, and at this point of my life, I wasn't actually looking to other schools. Um, and I and that's because like the major trend is to like get your GEs here in UOG, and then you can further your education elsewhere. So like with that kind of mindset, I just wanted to go UOG because it's more affordable, and just to like knock off my my GEs. And so so basically like I like started UOG undeclared. I didn't have a major, but after like thoroughly reviewing like what curriculums and degree programs that UOG has to offer, I ended up choosing computer information systems. And that's because I didn't want to do computer science. I'm not that great in math. So what I did was I chose CIS, and I declared that like not like soon after like I started school here at UOG. And so one of the third reason actually, like why I actually finally decided to pick my major, was because, okay, this is kind of like silly, but I was actually inspired to like declare it because how many of you guys like watch Korean dramas? Oh, I saw someone laugh there. You guys watch Korean dramas? Okay. So yeah, me too. Okay. So I'm a K-drama addict. So what happened was I actually watched this Korean drama called City Hunter. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. That was like released a while back, but basically the main character in that drama was a night T. And I was like, man, he's so cool. I want to be an IT too. So that's why I declared my major. So that's kind of like my story, and how I declared CIS. And like as you can see like here, my slide is that I actually double majored. I also did business administration and human resource management. And I'll kind of get into how I got that later. But so yeah. and then I also, like in 2015, I did work study for computer center. So I stepped my foot in the door here in 2015, and I'll show you guys how that happened. Right, so next slide. All right, so in between that time from 2012 to 2017, while I'm taking my courses here at UOG, I was doubting myself because I actually got into the program without knowing at all, like without having a clue what actually computer information systems was or computer science was in general. And like my silly self didn't actually bother to Google what it was and what jobs I can get from it. So that was me back then. But so I basically just got into the program without knowing what kind of classes I'm going to be taking. And I honestly didn't know what programming was. I was just like, okay, this is what can get me to become an IT. So I was like, okay, I'll take this. So so what happened was when I took my first course in computer science, I was like, man, I suck at programming. And like, do I really want to major in this? And then, but you know, like by that time, wait, how many of you guys are like math majors? So like, maybe like half a year are like math majors, right? Yeah, I see a lot of people saying me here. Okay, so so good for you. You're good at math, but like, you know, for me and for anybody else that's not that great at math or like isn't really like excellent at it, um I like basically before you start like any computer science course, you have to take a lot of math courses already because those were the prerequisites. And like by that time, I was already done with almost all my GEs, including all the math courses I needed to take just to start my computer science classes. And then so like by that time I saw that I couldn't turn back. Like, so what I did was I was just like, oh, I can't turn back anymore. So I have to pull through with this course. And then so I passed my first programming class, and then the second programming class came, and I really started like super duper questioning myself. I'm like, man, I really suck at this. I can't understand this. And I was like, I suck at this so much, and I really wanted to change my major, basically. And but then like I said before, like it was too late for me to turn back. At least that's what I felt. So what I did was I declared another major, which was HR for in business admin, and that was because I wanted a plan B. I wanted a plan B, and like after declaring that, like even with just declaring that, I actually didn't want. I I didn't know that I wanted to take HR. Um, so like what I did was I picked the course that business admin had to offer that had the shortest time for me to complete, and that was HR. So that's actually why I even chose that. So um so yeah, I chose HR, and then you know after declaring my second major, I kind of felt like a sense of comfort. Um like my in my mentality, like a sense of comfort that I have a plan B. Like even though I suck at programming and maybe I might not land a job in IT because I suck at programming, that I have a plan B, and I can become like an HR assistant or like an HR, um, like whatever job that I can go there. So so yeah, so that was like a sense of comfort for me to like double major in that. And at the midst of all that, so that was in 2014. So now in 2015, I I joined EMC Squared, and um, a month after I joined, I became an officer. I became a secretary, and actually one of the reasons why I wanted to become an officer was because I saw that I I was able to like I had a vision. Like I started like from my first meeting, I had a vision that I have what it takes to improve the club, basically. And I believe that I can contribute a lot of things that to basically expand the club. So that's actually why I became an officer. And then like in 2016, I became the president, and I served for 1 year. And like at the midst of all that, when I joined the club, the president was actually Victor, and he was one of the guest speakers for the alumni series, like I think a year ago. But yeah, so he was actually at the time working at the computer center, like here. So I was like, how do I get to work there? So I was like, hey Vic, how do I get to work in computer center? And then he basically told me I can work here, like to become a federal work study. And do you guys know what federal work studies are? Yeah. Okay. All right. So basically, like if you have financial aid, they give you an option to work at any department here at UOG. And I chose computer center because I wanted to get my foot in the door in IT. I wanted to have the experience to have a job that, like, you know, just to, was that um oh, I can't remember the word right now. But anyways, the hands-on training on in like any IT stuff. And I wanted to like get to know what kind of like perspectives that I can learn in this field. And so yeah, I became a work study. And then I think around, oh, or it says right there, on 2016, um what happened was I became a computer center assistant. And what that is what it says. So basically, I was an assistant for computer center. And basically, what we did was we assisted anywhere. We assisted anywhere that needed help in computer center. And so just to like a brief background on what actually the job entails is that a work study for computer center actually deals with students, like anyone who comes into the computer lab. Work study is a system, and so does anybody else here. But yeah, so that was the main job of a work study. And to be a computer center assistant at that time, that position actually didn't existed, and it was first created around the time when I was there. So in 2016, I became the computer center assistant, also known as CCA. It's kind of long to say. Um, but yeah, so it's called a CCA. And basically what we did was we supported not only students, we also supported faculty, staff, and basically anyone who needed help on campus. We assisted them in their needs, like with any service that we provided here at UOG, like Wi-Fi and any software that we support. That's what we do. And so yeah, so I was a CCA for a while until 2019. And so at the midst of all of that, so I want to talk about education. So I'm not sure if you all know, but maybe some of you might know that the computer science program is not exactly up to par compared to other universities or other colleges. And I knew that. And of course I knew that like when I was like kind of like already in my upper level division courses, because like remember I said I had no idea what programming was earlier, right? And so then like in one of my classes, like we find out that it's not actually up to par with other universities. And the courses and the content that they were teaching were not exactly the trending content, or for a better word. And so the reason why I say that is because like even though the content might not be up to par with other colleges, I feel that it's important to find meaning in what professors are teaching and basically don't take it for granted. Like even the smallest little thing that you can take from a class, anything that you can learn from it, even if it's like super tiny and doesn't have to do anything with the class, just value it and like don't take it for granted. And one of the examples that I can give is like for example, my first computer science course, programming one. A lot of people in that class didn't really like what they were learning, basically because it was old, it was very outdated, and which is true. But the thing is, I still got like I still got knowledge from that class that I still use to today. And that's actually like doing what do you call that, flowcharts. So flowcharts, so what are flowcharts? They're actually like charts that show logic of any program. So basically, because I found that that concept of doing a flowchart so important that I still use it today. And so basically, like, what I'm saying is, like, because we're paying for classes, make sure you don't take it for granted. Don't waste your time just trying to like go by and get a grade. Like, go to a class expecting you'll learn something, even if it's the littlest thing. Like, even if you think it's an easy class, you'll still learn something. So yeah. And by the way, if you guys have any questions like along the way, just feel free to mention in the comments and I can go ahead and address those. All right. So in 2016 and 2017, with EMC Squared, we got to do that robotics trip, and we got to build like robots, like what you see here from the picture at my left. we basically built these fighting robots, I believe that they were called, and we got to like design them, and we basically had to like hit each other until we get off the square thing. But yeah. So like I mentioned before, I served as president until 2017. And so like after EMC Squared, I actually joined another organization here at UOG, and that was Blue Key Honor Society. And I think that was like for like a semester. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, so I joined that organization after EMC Squared. Like at that time, I was still participating, but not really that much for EMC Squared, because I was in my last year in college, and I had like a lot of courses to take for business administration. So and then we have like another picture here that's just like me in one of my business classes, and like the picture is like so pixelated. I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, there's that. And so now I graduated in 2017. What's next? What do I do next? And I, as a computer center assistant, basically I was exposed to a lot of things, a lot of projects, and this is like projects varying from like networking, development, and like user support. So I tell myself I like doing customer support. I enjoy it. I enjoy helping people. But then like at some point after I graduated, I basically wasn't exactly happy where I was at. And of course, like after graduating, there's kind of like this expectancy that we have to do more. Like for example, like other students like who after graduating, they like take their masters and do certifications and stuff like that. So I started questioning myself, like, what exactly do I want to do? I didn't see myself just being like, Hafiday, how can I help you? So like I didn't expect myself to live my life answering phone calls and helping others like that, and basically being the user support for anybody on campus. And so what I did after I graduated was that I started studying for certifications in computer science or something. So I started like asking people, like my colleagues, my coworkers, like what's it like to work in your area? And so I started asking questions, and I started asking like people, like my colleagues who have certifications here. And so yeah, I just basically asked, oh my God, Jose, hi. Yeah, so Jose was one of the persons I asked, like, do I get a certification? Do I need it? But yeah, so I'll talk further about that in the next slides. But yeah, so I have a quote here that says, "No place like home," and I'm not sure if you're ever familiar with that quote. So one of UOG's quote is actually "No place like home." So there was actually a campaign with that like during my time as a student. And like at first, like when I was like seeing people wearing those shirts, I was like, what? I was like, no place like home. What? And then, I didn't realize until after that, like while I was a student, after I graduated, and that EOG is really no place like home. Like I spent a lot of my life here, like as a college student, as a worker, as a staff, and honestly, like I basically kind of lived here. I basically kind of lived at UOG. Like I remember those times, like in my last year in college, like I legit just sleep in my car. I just go home just to shower. I know, like, and my house is even far from here, so it's like 30 minutes away, and I just go home to shower and I come back, and it became really like home. And that to me was like honestly really important. And it I didn't realize that that it really felt like um somewhere close to my heart, basically. So yeah. So real quick. So within the Office of Information Technology, or OIT, that's what we call it for short. So we basically have subunits. We don't actually have like a official terminology for it, but I refer to it as subunits. And so I kind of laid out here the basic layout of the different areas that you can work in at OIT here at the university. So yeah, so the first one is operations, and that's where I worked in first as a CCA, and as an assistant. And the other people who work there as well is work studies, like I mentioned before, and IT techs and operator. Oh my gosh, operators. And then the second area you can work in is like administrative staff, like the people who work in the front office and handle documentation. And development staff, who are like system analysts, they basically handle all the back ends of all the services we provide here at EOG. And then networking, like Jose. So the network engineers, and they also have like CCAs as well to help them out. And there's information security, who have the security analysts basically. And we have web development, and that's where I'm at. And we also have CCAs as well. So, and there's also another thing, but I'm not going to cover it. But so basically, when I was working as an assistant, I basically I got to like what do you call this? Oh no, that's the next slide. Sorry. How do I go back? Oh, okay. So sorry about that. So what happened was, when I was working as an assistant, I actually got to handle 4 projects dealing with out of the 6 here. So I didn't get to, or actually no, 5. So five out of the 6, I actually got to work each subunit at OIT. And so like I said before, I didn't really enjoy my time. I enjoyed it, but not enjoyed it at the same time as, like, answering the phone and like just helping users out. I also didn't enjoy doing paperwork. It was just wasn't my thing. And actually, I believe Jose mentioned it, but he actually applied for that analyst position and he didn't get it because he didn't get the credentials. But yeah, so actually I actually got to work under one of the development staff. I was actually assisting one of them, and then for like I think a semester, and basically what they do is like they handle a lot of things in like servers and a lot of programming involved actually. So I was like, whoa, wait, hold on, I don't like programming. Like I mentioned before, I suck at programming, right? So I was like, whoa, I don't think this is for me. But I still helped out because I had to. I was required to do it. And then networking, I actually got to, not really much of what Jose did, but basically we would like do the grunt work for for like the internet lines here at our office, and we would like run lines through our labs and like add lines and basically give them internet, right? And honestly, all of that grunt work and like getting quote unquote down and dirty because you get dirty like you get all dust on your hands and like whatever your clothes just to do all the work for networking. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that. so so now web development. So I didn't get to experience anything in security, but actually I did study about security as well, but I'll talk about that in the next slide. um, so um, so now web development. So actually before there was no web development team. There was nobody, the people who were handling the EOG website was actually the marketing team here at EOG. and like there was no web development team. So I think it was around, was it 2016 or 2017, a web development team was created. and and basically like um so they were kind of just like getting it started, and like the team was getting started, and they basically took over what marketing was handling here before. And what happened was I actually didn't really know anything about websites at all, but I'll go further into that later. So I do want to cover certs. So as I mentioned earlier, do I need certs? So that's like the number one question. I believe students have, like especially if you're coming from computer science or like computer information systems, is that like, do you kind of question, do you need certs? And there's actually a lot of paths you can take, and you can kind of see here from my picture. This is just based on the CompTIA. There's more than just CompTIA, but that's what I have here. So because this is actually the map that Jose shared me so from before. So when I asked him about certs, he actually showed me this one. And for a year, basically after I graduated college, I started studying for certs. I started studying from the baseline, which is called CompTIA A plus, and I also studied for Security plus. And so basically, I studied for both of those, and I passed the first half of A plus, but there's actually two parts of that exam, and I passed the first part, and I just got lazy to do the other part because I kind of felt I didn't need it anymore. And I also studied for Security plus, but I don't have the cert or anything, but I don't have any certs. Don't care. But yeah, I did study for it. I studied the content for the certs though, and they're actually very interesting. And actually learned a lot from studying A plus. Like A plus has a lot of content, like so much. Like they basically put like your college what what you should have learned in college in one book for computer science. And it was tough to study, but yeah, I just thought it wasn't for me, so really I didn't pull through with it, and it was also expensive so just to take those exams. So yeah, and there's that. So now kind of want to talk about what I'm doing now, right? So right now, during my time, like, no, actually right after I graduated, my boss actually told me that I should lead the National Center for Women in IT, which is called NCWIP. And basically, they're an organization that promotes like women in STEM, basically, because they are like what the minority. They're the minority. So I joined that. I'm actually an affiliate coordinator for that here for EOG, actually for Guam. So for the whole Guam, I'm the coordinator for that. Oh, what's this? Oh, yes, we can wrap it up in. All right. So So yeah, in 2018, I actually joined the web development team. And actually at that time when I joined, I didn't really have that much experience in websites. And I'm gonna go and talk about that. So here I kind of just like, oh, I have some pictures here of our team here. So I'm like the extremely short one there. Look how short I am. And those are my tall coworkers. So that's my team there. And this is also our office over here. And like this is NCWIT. And then this is also this was like a former boss, and this is still my boss from marketing. So yeah. So now I'm gonna talk about like my job. So the programming languages required to do website development and design is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and there are other languages as well. But those are the main ones that we use here at UOG. And at this time, like I didn't at the time I didn't really know anything about it. And I remember doing a project for like for like our computer center, and I made this really ugly ugly like design on a website. It was kind of embarrassing. Like I don't even know where the screenshot for is at. But basically I had to learn how to do HTML, CSS, etc. And back in 2017, Free Code Camp actually visited OIT here, and they hosted a training session. So I actually got to learn HTML and CSS like a little bit. And then like after that, I just kind of learned it on my own and like watching videos and doing actual like editing on sites. And yeah, so like the projects that I first started was like my first official project was EduRoam. I don't know if you guys know it, but that I don't know if you guys know when it launched, but when we first launched EduRoam, the new quote unquote new Wi-Fi at the time, um, so basically, I had my boss came up to me and said, "Can you make a website for EduRoam?" And I was like, "Whoa, I don't know anything." So what I did was I got a template and then I started editing. And actually, here's a screenshot of how it looked like before. I actually don't really like it anymore, but yeah, that's what I did back then. Um, and then the next one I did was actually Gorex, and like Jose actually kind of touched on that. So I actually was in charge of making that website for them. So yeah. Um, So after joining the web team, I continued to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, etc. On my own time. And the content management system that we use for the university is called Omni CMS. And that's basically what we use to edit and make websites for UOG. And I was also trained in CentOS 7, which is basically what we use in the back end. So it's like Linux. I'm not sure if any of you guys know that, but so one of the first projects I had, like my quote unquote big project, is actually making the Charter Day app. So this was like a special thing. It's no longer available, so you can't download it. But it was basically an app that I had to do. My boss was like, "Oh, can you make an app?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know how to do that." So basically, I made this app using Modo Labs, and yeah, so that's kind of how it looked like here on the side. That was one of my big projects, like as part of the web team, and I also learned how to do WordPress. Maybe some of you guys know what WordPress is, but it's also a content management system. And so yeah, I learned how to do that. And one of my first projects was actually UOG Endowment Foundation. I'm not sure if are you guys familiar with Endowment Foundation? But they're kind of but yeah, so yeah, basically my role here at UOG is to handle front end design and development. And I'm just going to go ahead and continue here. So after joining the team, I started getting more and more projects, like after the Charter Day project that I had. So my first big project for an actual website was actually EOG Endowment Foundation. And basically I had to redesign their site that they had, and I did it on WordPress. And so if you guys want to check it out, it's actually at give.eog.edu. I'm not going to visit it at this time, but so yeah, that was one of my big projects. And so basically what I did was, like, for any project that I do, so after the development part is done, which is not my role, um I design it. I design it before it goes to the client, basically. So that's what I do. And then I also design, like, here are my other projects: Triton Esports, EOG Cares, and the online catalog. So that was actually one of my recent big projects from last year. So I was actually in charge of migrating all the content from the book that we used to have for the catalog to the website. So that was like one of my really large projects, and it's still ongoing. It's forever ongoing because there's no end to catalog. But I also worked on Guam Green Growth, Guam App Score, Tech Fest, which is an OIT thing. And, like, aside from these projects, I just continue to learn and learn, because it, like, when sites and design, there's always new trends all the time. So you have to be, like, up to par on, like, what designs are on trend. Like, so I'm always, like, on IG, like, looking at, like, some tips that I can use to implement for websites, and, like, what's the better options and stuff. And I have all my projects listed on LinkedIn. It's all LinkedIn. Oh my god, that's oh my god, that's like literally LinkedIn. So all my projects are linked in LinkedIn. So if you guys want to check that out. So so now just to kind of, like, wrap it up. So now because I handle so much, like, front end design, like, here, and I enjoy doing all the design and development here for EOG. I'm trying to gear my career path towards user experience design and user interface design, UX UI for short. So basically what UX is like what you see. It's basically like what you see. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's UI. UI is like what you see and touch, like, on your mobile, and, like, basically the visuals, right? And UX is basically, like, it became like the consequence of UI design, because now you have to figure out what's the best way to navigate through a page or through an app, and what's the best way to have an experience. So that's kind of what I'm gearing towards in my career, like what's my next move, right? So here's like a kind of, like, diagram on, like, the difference between UX and UI, and I kind of just, like, mentioned there. So, like, with UX, it involves very in-depth research and prototypes and, like, wireframes that you have to do. You have to really, like like, super research on the users that's going to access your product, or, like, your website, your app, and you really have to study that, and that's how you create the best user experience. And UI is, of course, visual design. So I'm actually taking a certification course for UX at UX Design Institute, and I'm taking that online. So that's an ongoing thing for me, and I'm continuing to learn more and more. So yeah. So that's kind of, like, basically it for my presentation. Do you guys, like, have any questions?
I guess I'll start it off.
Okay,
Um,
thanks.
in the beginning, you talked a lot about like self-doubt, and I feel like a lot of us could probably relate to that on our path. So do you have any advice for students who may be experiencing that, and like how did you overcome your own self-doubt?
So how I overcame it was, I'm a very realistic person, and so what I did was, because I said, like, I couldn't turn back, I just have to pull through. I have to do it. That was kind of like my mentality. And when you're at that phase where you have a lot of self-doubt, it's important to find yourself. Like, at that time in 2014, where I was really lost and really questioning myself, I kept trying to find what's me, like finding me. So like basically that whole year I worked on finding myself and finding what I like, finding and doing like a lot of research on like um because I wanted to pursue a career in IT. I did a lot of research in what I can do. Um, and basically just like finding what you're passionate about. That I feel like that's like one of the best cures to self-doubt, is really finding what you like. And at that time I saw to myself, I was like, I I do want to pursue like a career in IT, so let me just go ahead and finish this. And so that was me. And like I said, like because I had a second major, it gave me self comfort, like because I had a plan B. So like that's also another important aspect, is like when you have self doubt, plan your life. So like, physical planning. So like write it down what your plan is, and when you have it written down, you have like a clear goal. So that, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
And then Jose is asking top 3 graphic tools you've used in your whole career. Okay, so when it comes to graphics, at entry level, it doesn't actually matter what you're using as long as you have the vision. Like I can create any graphic from from Word, PowerPoint, and like pages for Macs if you have a Mac. I can create like any graphic on basically any tool as long as you have the vision. So so yeah, what matters is your vision and not really your tool. But when the tool matters is when you're actually printing on commercial stuff. And what I mean by that is like if you're printing like banners, you're printing posters, the best tool to use is of course Adobe Suite. And and of course you guys know that, but yeah, so Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and what was the other one? InDesign. Yeah, Canva. Actually I started I recently used Canva. So like if you guys see like in the OIT Instagram page, I actually did like a template from Canva for the Halloween contest if you guys wanted to join that. But yeah, so like basically anywhere you can design anywhere. It's just you just have the vision. So that's what's that. Okay. Oh, so Dan, I can relate. When I was in high school, but when I got a job, I actually subscribed to Adobe because it was worth it for the full suite. And thankfully, my job actually pays for Adobe, so that's really great. I don't have to pay it out of my pocket anymore. So yeah. And we got here, what programming languages do you use for work? I use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. So that's what I have. Any more questions? I think those were all the questions from the chat. And anybody else want to like hop in and like ask a question on through the voice? Let's say I want to create a website. Where should I begin? That's a very great question. That's a very good question. Honestly, you can actually use how to answer that question without actually having to buy anything, right? Because like I got to access things because it was through my work and they were paid products. But how do you start? So actually WordPress is like is a free open source, but that gets technical. So I can't believe I forgot Wix and Squarespace, right? So before everything, like during my capstone time as a business major, I actually created a website through Wix, and like I had also other projects. But yeah, so you can start off with like Wix and just do like the the user interface, drag and drop, just to design a website. That's like the easiest way to, one of the easiest way to make a website, and for free. And then it says here, what kinds of project do you recommend to project web dev skills? Make a website. Or actually, like, what kind of projects? How about transforming a book or like a short brochure into a website? That'd be a great start, a great project to do. Because at some times, like here at work, they can ask like, can you make this book into a website? I'm like, oh, okay. But you know, the main problem about that though is that because books aren't meant for the web, there's too much words. So your challenge is to make it shorter, but give your message across, basically. So that's a great project to start in. And what do you think is the most challenging thing about web? Hey, May. I miss you. But one of the most challenging parts is like getting what your client wants without that much words. I feel like that's the most challenging part for me. And also another challenging part would be like making sure, like for example, when your client doesn't know what information they want to share, it's also a challenge to kind of like find out what they need to share. So like there comes the research part that I was mentioning about user experience, right? So it's also important to give tips to your clients, and that can be challenging at some times based on their needs. And what else are my challenges? The challenge that things take longer than said. So like making websites is generally like designing websites is generally like an easy thing to do, easy thing to think. A lot of the steps to make a website is very quote unquote easy. And the reason why I say that is because I usually lay out everything in my head, and then I just start doing the work. And sometimes I even draw it out like on a notebook, but yeah. And I just lost my train of thought of that, but yeah. So I hope that answered your question. Okay, so does anybody else have any questions? Do you think it's necessary to have some programming background to create a website from scratch? Yes. I 100% yes. It's because like programming background, like in terms of understanding logic, understanding how a program works, basically. And one of the main programming language that we learned at EOG as a CIS student and a CS student is Java. And I don't use that at all. I don't use that at all because my job doesn't entail it. But because I learned how to program in Java and how to read Java, it became really important, because then I know how to read any kind of language now, because Java is one of the foundations of any language. So like if you know how to read one language, you can read any other language. So I'm actually not very well versed in JavaScript, but I can read it and I can understand it. So yeah, but if you just want to like create like a website like using Wix, you don't need any experience in programming, because that's really just drag and drop. Can you explain the importance of accessibility in web? Oh yes, that's very important. So what is accessibility? So accessibility is basically making your website or app accessible, quote unquote accessible, to anybody. And anybody, like especially those who have like disabilities, for example, who is hearing impaired or is vision impaired, it's very important to make your content accessible to your users. And ways to do that is what we call alt text, alternative text, or like description text or title text within the website. So actually a good example I can give, like, so you guys can relate, is actually Instagram. So on Instagram, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but okay, let me pull up my Instagram. Instagram actually has the feature for accessibility. They actually have a feature where you can add in description to your photo, because IG is like very photo based. But what if I'm vision impaired? I can't see that, right? So what's really nice is Instagram actually has that feature where you can insert text to explain what your photo is. And let me show that real quick. And so, like, for example, if I make like a new post, let me pull it up. So like, for example, like if you just like go to your post and like go edit it, where is this edit? You can actually can you see this on my phone? Wait, do I need to do the hand thing? But here, so if you see the photo, you can actually pick alt text and you can explain what your photos mean. So that's what accessibility means. So I hope that was a good example for you guys. So yeah. As an IT, what are tools of your trade? Computer specs, phone, etc. Anything else you use for your job? Tools? Like what kind of laptop I use? Is that what it is? Okay, so for at least what I do, because I handle a lot of front end, sometimes I also need to make animations, because graphic design is one of my strong points. I actually need like a very high spec computer. Actually right now I'm using like a 16 gig RAM, but I realize I need 32. but like yeah, like that's kind of like the tools. Like I can use Windows, but I prefer Mac. But yeah, so like basically you really need a spec'd out computer to be able to do what I do, because I handle front end development. But if you're doing like back end development, like if you're doing just programming and stuff, I think 16 gig RAMs would suffice. And like it still need to be like a kind of spec'd out computer, because you're handling like accessing like VMs and servers and stuff like that. But yeah. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
We will end with Jose's question. Thank you guys so much for asking these meaningful questions. And also we would like to thank Vani for coming today and presenting just presenting in general. Thank you so much, Vani, sorry.
No worries. But yeah, thanks for having me. I hope I was able to share and kind of inspire you guys in one way or another.
Before we end, can we have, or if you guys want, can we turn on our camera so we can take a group screenshot for our Instagram page?